Hey, welcome to today's video. I'm Jacob Connors, author of the Saints Saga, the Black Beast series. Well, I'm only on volume 1 right now. You'll have to forgive me for that. Uh, today I want to do a redux of one of my earlier videos, one of my first test videos, where I talked about my protagonist, Hazel Spree, and through her various iterations. So we're going to talk about some character R&D today. I'll kind of explain my thought process and how I went about designing her and the revision she's gone through since her inception. Up on screen right now, I have the very first drawing of Hazel I ever did. This is prototype Hazel. Sorry. And her initial design, I wanted something. I was going for a kind of priestess design here. My initial intention was to make the story as edgy as possible. So I was going to have a lot of kind of spiky gear and shit like that. But it kind of tones down as it goes down the line. But we're going to start. We're going to start with the top of her head here, and I'm going to try and zoom. Yep, I can. You have to forgive me. I'm a little new at this. We're going to zoom in a little bit on her head here. Her initial design, I was originally designing this for a manga I was going to do before I ended up writing the whole story. So I didn't do any colors at first, but her initial design here at the top, I had this kind of woven crown, which I believe is directly inspired from something from Dragon Quest, possibly. Sorry. And from there, I gave her twin braids. For some reason, I had this kind of odd idea to have one braid in front and one braid in back. Kind of just a stylistic choice is all it is, but I like it. It grows on me. I like it. It does kind of transfer. In the beginning of the story, I have it with both braids in front, and then once she gets her priestess clothes, one braid goes behind her, and then as she gets older in the story, like both braids go behind her back. As kind of the idea is supposed to be that. I'm not sure if there's like an actual theme or idea behind it. Just like the further she gets from home and the further down the line she gets, the braids go from behind to back. I don't know if there's any real. So I'm getting off the beaten path here. Okay, so this initial design with her clothes, I was going for kind of a tunic idea, and you probably can't see my mouse here, unfortunately, but this initial crest here, this flap in her tunic, that came from, I think that came from when I was wearing welding jackets, and it's just kind of like it was kind of a style choice. All it was. I think I was just kind of messing around. I'm not exactly sure what this little crest here. I think I was trying to have it. I think I was really trying to have it so she had like kind of this leather, not exactly a chest plate, but like this leather piece of armor on her chest, and then like the tunic goes beneath it. I think that was the initial idea I had, but that gets dropped later on. On her arms here, initially, I had a lot of I had a lot of odd pieces here. Like she has these like weird kind of upper arm guards and these sleeves with with two different styled van braces. One's kind of just a circular brace, and this other one is this kind of this kind of spiky gauntlet thing, which I thought it was cool at the time. It was originally what I had in mind for the theme, but that goes away too. And then we have her this kind of crisscrossing equipment belt, and then she has a pistol here that is a flintlock, but I eventually changed that later. Zoom this back out again. Her another initial design phase is she kind of had these like the knee-high short, baggy short things. Those get replaced later with tights, and the tights just end up looking a lot more aesthetically. We'll see that with the next one. And then the boots here, at the time I wasn't really good at boots, so I had just drawn High Off Archer from Goblin Slayer, and I kind of just reused a lot of that base to design Hazel here. These initial boots are shit. they are pure shit from a design standpoint. I don't like them. Most of these weird kind of pointy flaps at the top. Initially, she did have like these kind of steel toes with spikes, you know, but that kind of gets changed too. That her whole lower half here gets a good redesign, but the top kind of stays pretty consistent throughout the series. And then here's her kind of warding staff. That stays pretty consistent for the different iterations. Although that eventually I should have redesigned that. She ends up using her pistols more than the staff. But she's supposed to kind of be a apprentice priestess in training. Or she initially goes from village girl to apprentice to pretending to be a priestess, and then she gradually throughout the story she gets trained to be a priestess as she goes along her journey. So that's the first phase there, kind of a bit of a rambling mess on my half. But let's move on to the second phase, which I like a lot better, and it's in color. Okay, this is phase 2 Hazel. For a while, this was the definitive... I'm not moving the right thing there. This was the definitive Hazel. I'm just going to give up on zooming out here for a while now. But so her hair color is blonde. There's some tone left on her face from when I removed her from her picture. So her hair is blonde. That's probably influenced from, I think I was reading Goblin Slayer. So there might be some overtones from Priestess, from Goblin Slayer. But her initial design gets a little more streamlined here. So we keep the crown gets redesigned to be a little more simplified instead of a wavy pattern. It's also got this blue jewel in the center. And then I put her braid in the... I never corrected this. I don't know why. But I have a braid going down into the back for her shirt. And down her back instead of behind it. That's just a mistake on my part. I just never corrected it in this picture. The big thing I redesigned with the tunic is that she now has this wide kind of cowl or collar. I don't know if that's the way to say it, but the sleeves get a little bit more defined, but she's still sleeveless. And then the cowl is also connected to this piece here that makes it look removable, which I think it will be in story, but it's just a design thing that I ended up really liking, and I like having it around, so it just kind of stayed there. And then we did away with kind of the chest plate looking thing and redid it. We did it with this kind of chest holster where she went from flintlocks to, I believe these are cap and ball pistols, but they could be cartridge pistols too in story. I think they are cartridge pistol in story. Yeah. I kind of take things are kind of a frontier Wild West setting in my fantasy story here. And I like that because I get so tired of everybody just being so gun shy of guns. It's like they're either, and if they have guns, if they have like a concept of gunpowder and guns, they always write them off as these ineffective, weak weapons. Like in Realist Hero, the Soma Kazuya agonized a little bit over whether he should introduce the gun or not. And they already had cannons in the story. And I think like Licia, the main harem protagonist in that story, and the princess, he like talks to the concept about it with her, and she just kind of says, "Oh, there's a lot of magic that will kind of supplement that." And I appreciate when they at least kind of talk about why in some fantasy worlds they didn't develop guns. But the one thing too is I think a lot of authors, maybe particularly even Japanese ones, I've been reading about a lot of light novels recently, so that's kind of a lot of my contemporary insights are coming from. But even, not just Japanese authors, but a lot of people, even in America here where I live, the more artsy type, they don't really know much about guns. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. I'm not in the army or anything, but I have a really big passion for weapons. I have a good arsenal myself. I'm not going to say how much, but I have a good arsenal. I'm not much of a collector. I kind of stick to more of the AR platform. But I got several pistols. The most antique gun I get are revolvers. They're just fun to have around, and easy to practice with, and they help me kind of get a good idea when I do gunfighter scenes, because I think the era I cap off here in my story in Saint Saga, it's definitely around the cowboy era. In contemporary terms, it would be about late 1860. So it would be post Civil War. So there'd be like repeating cartridges. It'd be very early adoption of firearms in this world, but they're useful, and they're useful in a lot of ways. Where like they can take down smaller monsters, and they're very effective against humans, and they can be augmented with magic to be even more deadly. It's just they have a cap. They have a cap on what they can do. Like you can use a pistol against a dragon in this story. You can maybe shoot its eye out after several shots, because dragons can get huge in my story. In my story and other stories, they can be huge or small, but they are useful for taking out kind of the trash mobs, and they're useful as kind of like in Devil May Cry. It's maybe not doing a huge lot of damage, but it is an annoyance. It's kind of at least kind of keeping something busy as you prepare a more powerful attack. So for me, guns just make sense. Everybody's always in human history. Everybody's always trying to make things better, deadlier, faster, more ammo capacity. My dives into the military history and what the Army wants for a frontline army is for a frontline gun. They want a gun that shoots a big bullet, carries 100 rounds of ammunition, and is accurate as a sniper rifle. It's impossible to make, but that's what they want. And they've been trying to achieve that since World War II, I think, with the M14. Sorry, that's post World War II. Anyways, let's get back to the design here. Another thing that I upgrade from version 1 to 2 here is back in version 1 she had these sleeves with armor piecings. Here we just go to straight up like disconnected sleeves with rings holding them. You might wonder why I chose this. Well, part of it's based off of welding sleeves I used to wear, so it's supposed to protect from welding sleeves are supposed to protect from burns and cuts and stuff. Depending, some are better than others. Leather ones are pretty good against most things. They're a little uncomfortable; they chafe the skin. The more synthetic polyester ones do the same thing, but they kind of have a tendency to melt a little bit after a lot of heat exposure. Or not melt. You don't want to wear polyester when you're welding, because it will literally melt to your skin. But it's a more synthetic fiber. The idea with these in stories, they're supposed to be kind of like a magical item that just increases their strength. On her knuckles here, she's got kind of like an armored gauntlet stuff. I wish I had a better way to zoom in here. I'm not very good with the OBE. What's this called again? OBS. Yeah, I'm recording this on OBS. So in that design, this is kind of an piece of equipment she gets later in the story. Like I'm writing volume 3 right now, and she still doesn't have these. So it feels a little weird to display this image when she doesn't have them, but that's what they are. And several other characters use these. Let's see. Oh yeah, so this is kind of just based off the Crusader's cross, this blue cross on her image. It's just blue because of in-world reasons. Hazel is a Solaran. She worships the goddess of the Azure Sun, or the blue sun, basically. So that's why it's blue instead of red. Although there are different variants that pop up throughout the story. The equipment belt gets a little bit upgraded, so I have like cartridge spots on here. I think I should try and zoom in here a little bit, but yeah, there's cartridge slots on there for her, and then she has the 2 equipment belt, and then I added this. It's kind of supposed to be like a dagger or kind of a sword breaker. It's more of like just like a dagger hatchet thing that she can use. It's just a piece of equipment I added when I was making the initial drawing. There's a whole background here with this that she's supposed to have. I just have it on a white screen here to be a little simpler. She actually doesn't have a dagger in the story yet, so that's a little misleading. But this when I was originally designing the second version, it was supposed to be like the full apprentice outfit, or the full apprentice standard loadout. So everybody would have So every apprentice would have their pistols, one or two. They'd have a kind of a paring dagger, or kind of a hatchet dagger, and they'd have equipment pouches and things like this. These are the tights I mentioned. I mentioned here, moving down to her legs. These are the tights I mentioned. They're nothing real special. They can kind of be different thicknesses, sheer for summer and a little thicker for winter. They're basically just pants. I wanted the design to be a lot more sporty as I went on because it just seems better. It just feels better. The idea she can run around, and it's still a modest outfit in my opinion. Yeah, the skirt might be a little high above the knees. I also drew these knees weird. One of my beta readers said this position looks painful, and I can kind of see what he means. Like I tried staying in it. It's a little weird, but it's a very awkward position. I don't know. I just did it because I was using a reference, and I should have paid attention more. So there's nothing too special with the tights, although it just makes it a little more streamlined. Her boots get completely redesigned from here on out. I'll try to get these up here. Yeah, okay. So her boots get redesigned. They go from high of archers, high knee boots to that's not your calf, is it? Whatever. Kind of these higher cowboy boot styles, although she's got quite a heel on these. The heel probably didn't need to be that big, but I also at the time I just was trying to get a better boot design, and this is what I came up with. The spikes went from her toes to around her ankles, and the idea with the spikes is in this world there's a lot of dangerous creatures, and the spikes are supposed to prevent kind of a beast from knocking on her feet. Obviously they're probably not long enough to really stop that. Although they would, 3 inches would be a lot on your feet. As long as you didn't have it on the inside, I think that would be fine. If you just have them on the outside of your feet and not on the inside of your leg, if I'm describing this right, yeah, I feel like that'd help you enough. Like most creatures, I don't think have that. They have pretty big jaws. They'd probably bite on their leg. But the idea is just they're long enough to kind of, if something tries to bite her leg, the brace will stop the teeth, and then the spikes will force the monster to let go of it. It's to stop creatures from biting off your leg. It's kind of was just left over from the kind of the edgy aspects of the original stuff, but I like the idea of trying to weave it into a practical design. And so phase 2 is where Hazel really started to take shape in my mind, because this was the base I used for when I gave that over to Deku Studio to draw her, and it was for a long time. This was Hazel's primary look. Now we're going to move on to phase 3, which is a combination of phase 2 that I drew, and then combined with elements from the official version made by Deku Studio. We'll just move on to that, and here we go. This is phase 3 Hazel. Now, at this point in time, this is, I believe, 2.5 years after I first drew the prototype, and another year after I drew version 2. And at that point, I got a little bit better at drawing, and a lot better at coloring and shading. I took a lot of lessons from YouTubers. I wish I had their names written down right here. I think one is called Mark or Marcy. He's a bald guy with piercings. I don't know if that narrows it down, but I took some hints from him. One of the main changes is this Hazel is a little bit more story accurate. So this would be Hazel in volume 2, I believe. One of the main changes I made is her hair gets a little more defined here, and she gains this little. It's not quite an agole, or however you pronounce it. It's not the hair piece that sticks out of anime character's head. It just gets this little kind of weird bang at the top of her head that gives her a little more defined feature. Her eyes are a little brighter in this one, a little bit more blue. Her one braid is now completely behind her back, mostly just because of the way the picture's positioned, but her braid gets a little thicker here. And I kind of like the redesign of the braid. The other one was kind of messy, and I was just reusing it. And this one, I just kind of looked up some other braids and finally create something a little bit more, better looking. Overall, her design doesn't change. The only thing is she doesn't have her sleeves in this one. And here I added the bullets you'd use. These would be gem bullets in the story. These are actually bullets that can be fired more than once. They're like a magical bullet cartridge. You just load them into the gun cylinder and you just fire them, and they fire a certain amount of times until they explode. And then your gun gets covered in like melted gem pieces. So it's kind of a double-edged sword in that regard. But another thing that happens here is our guns get upgraded. I believe the second guns back in the Phase 2, those were based off of a cap and ball gun I received from a friend of my grandmother's. He was getting too old to use it anymore, so he gave it to me. He must have been I don't know if he used it for hunting. I can't use it for hunting where I am, but I don't know where he was. I don't know where he lived. Maybe you could use it there, but I kind of worry to use it because I don't generally like black powder guns. I have a black powder muzzleloader that I use for hunting myself, but that's a rifle. The pistols, they look cool, but I don't like cleaning them. That's my response there. So these pistols are upgraded to that. I believe I based these off of the Colt 60. I keep saying 1868s. When was the Colt Navy designed? I believe these are supposed to be Wild Bill Hickok's guns. So they would be 1865s, I believe. Cartridge converters. Of course, in the story, they're just cartridge guns instead of cap and ball. But that was the main jump there. I think just because I flipped the picture, the belt's in a different place, but that doesn't really matter. Let's see. Her tights stay the same, and the boots, I redrew the boots, but the boot design stays the same. Overall, Phase 3 Hazel becomes kind of the more definitive version of Hazel on my end. So when I do like the covers and stuff, this is the Hazel I use as a reference point. And I'm always trying to improve Hazel, but the guys at Deku did a good job. I also paid them, so I like to use their official design, but I'm trying to get better, so I'm not as much as a slouch on the art. Also, I just like doing it. So this is Phase 3 Hazel. This is Phase 3 Hazel, and I really like how she turned out. I also just like my own improvement. I definitely learned some stuff and got way better. It's a little short on this end for talking about her. But there's not really much to talk about. This is kind of like the Digimon evolutions. You have the champion, the ultimate, and then the mega. Oh no, I should start with rookie. You have the rookie, the champion, and the ultimate. The mega version is probably the official art piece, which I have. I have one more here. This is an illustration straight from Volume 1. It's around chapter 8, I believe. This turns up. Unfortunately, it's not in color. They did send me a color version. This is Horrified Hazel. This is Hazel after a bad day, where she and Sixes assault Goblin Fort to rescue some women after they find a dog on the side of the road. And Hazel can understand the dog, as his name's Basker, and his owner's daughter was taken along with his granddaughter, and they go to save him with Basker. Basker gets turned into a hellhound by Sixes, and they go assault the fort. It's a bloody exciting time with a lot of guts and gore, and Hazel has to kill some demon deer by herself without help. And after that, she leaves the cave. She looks up at Sixes, and she is not having a good day after all that. And this is kind of to encapsulate that. She's covered in blood. She's away from home. She was taken away from home, and she's just mentally exhausted. And so I believe this is the end of chapter 8. The Deku Studio guys did a really good job. I really appreciate the work they did. It's Deku, like Deku from My Hero Academia. You can find them on ArtStation. I don't have an exclusive contract with them, but I do like to give them my work because I do like their work. I might have to start crowdfunding to get the stuff for Volume 3 done. Unfortunately, originally I had just 4 pictures done in a cover back when volume 1 and 2 were all one book, and then the books got split, so then only 2 illustrations got into each book, and then I had to commission a second cover for volume 2. And I want there to be 4 illustrations in each book at least, but unfortunately, until the books start making some money, I just can't justify it. I'm even right now, I want to put some illustrations. I want to put 4 illustrations in the volume 3, but that won't be released till about 2016, I believe. I just said 2026, sorry. 2026. I'd hope by then I would be in a better situation and be able to afford that. But right now, the advertising is just kicking my ass right now. Speaking of advertising, son of a bitch. So yeah, if you want to check out my book, Saint Saga, The Black Beast, Volume 1, branded. I don't put that in because it's already mouthful of the title. You can purchase it on Amazon for $2.99 on ebook, or you can read it free on Kindle Unlimited, or you can purchase it on paperback for $12.50 or $17.50 or $17.25, 17 something for the hardcover. That's a little bit of delay. That has a little bit of delay when you order it, but other than that, I hope you check it out. Yeah, the Deku Studio also did the cover for the book here, and I just kind of put it in this ad, but they did a really good job here. There's a bit of a style difference because unfortunately, when I commissioned the illustrations, they couldn't get a hold of the artists that did this, and I'm trying to keep the art consistent. So the second artist will be hopefully more available as I go forward, and hopefully they don't shut down hopefully they're getting enough business, because I struggle to give them enough work all the time. So that was my redux of my character R&D. I'm going to try this again, and I think at least I got my sound a little bit better. Everything else is going to be crap, but I think my sound's going to definitely be a little bit better. And for some reason, this ended up being about 30 minutes long. So I'm sorry about that. I wish I had more interesting to talk about. More interesting things to talk about. But going forward, I'm going to talk more about story concepts and do a little bit more character R&D. But I got to figure things out with the YouTube channel and what I want to talk about. I believe I want to do a video talking about isekais, video game isekais, video systems in isekai. So like isekais that have like leveling systems, how that idea is kind of shit and stupid, I think. So look out for that. I'll have to see when I do that. Thanks. If you like what I do, or just subscribe, and if you think I'm shit at this, just tell me in the comments, because you're right, I'm shit at this. But I'm going to get better. I got better at drawing. I can get better at this shit. And that's about all I'm going to say about that. I need to get better at drawing too. But this is run long enough. I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you next time.